Yeah.
That's on my soul. That's on my soul.
Yeah, that's you. Yeah, that's you. I don't play them games, so I can't lose. I can't lose. I can't. They competition, they confuse. They confuse. They confuse. I know love ain't fair. I know playing by the rules. I don't care. My eyes set and I want you. I don't play them games, so I can't lose. I can't lose. I can't. They competition, they confuse. They confuse. I know love ain't fair. I know playing by the rules. I don't care. My eyes set and I want you. Pretty Ricky, I'm repeating. Digging deep and just feeding. Chest I feed. I make you believe. I make you believe. This affirmations while you sleep. Make believe. I'll change what you see. And let me penetrate your I make you believe. I make you pretty Ricky, I'm repeating. This ain't make believe. Pretty Ricky, I'm repeating. I make you believe. I make you believe. The chest I feel you. This ain't make believe. No, this ain't make believe. This affirmations while you sleep. I make you believe. That's on my soul. And your beauty striking. Lightning bolt. Lightning bolt. I can't forget the fighting. What I know. I can find a diamond mine and a heart pure gold. Yeah, that's you. Yeah, that's you. Yeah, that's you. I don't play them games, so I can't lose. I can't lose. I can't. They competition, they confuse. They confuse. I know love ain't fair. I know playing by the rules. I don't care. My eyes set and I want you. I don't play them games, so I can't lose. I can't lose. I can't. They competition, they confuse. They confuse. I know love ain't fair. I know playing by the rules. I don't care. My eyes set and I want you. Pretty Ricky, I'm repeating. Digging deep and just feeding. Chest I feed. I make you believe. I make you believe. This affirmations while you sleep. Make believe. I'll change when you see. And let me penetrate your I make you believe. I make you pretty Ricky, I'm repeating. This ain't make believe. Pretty Ricky, I'm repeating. I make you believe. I make you believe. The chest I feel you. This ain't make believe. No, this ain't make believe. This affirmations while you sleep. I make you believe. Ricky, I'm repeating.
Too wrong don't make no right. I put my pride aside tonight for you, for you. Too wrong don't make no right. I put my pride aside tonight for you, for you. Diamond high found this. Come through, be around this. Boom, boom, be around this. Come through, let me pound this. Diamond high found this. Come through, be around this. Boom, boom, be around this. Come through, let me pound this. And I was touched by an angel, that was God's hand. Measure a star at every angle, that was God's plan. On my bullshit, then it's robbing. The outside looking in, I'm the odd man.
Must have made an impression on your conscience. Even through it, you kept me as an option. Hope you don't catch me when I'm checking on your content. Open up your heart and we locked in. Baby, you could lose the key, now we locked in. And we don't need a locksmith. And you swear my type is toxic. I'm falling harder than a metamorphic rock pit.
Too wrong don't make no right. I put my pride aside tonight for you, for you. Too wrong don't make no right. I put my pride aside tonight for you, for you. Diamond high found this. Come through, be around this. Boom, boom, be around this. Come through, let me pound this. Diamond high found this. Come through, be around this. Boom, boom, be around this. Come through, let me pound this. And know you coming when you say you on your way now. Niagara Falls, I feel it coming on its way down. Soaking wet when we play round. Splash pad at a playground. Ooh, I can't swim, it's like a lake now. And I can feel it in my face now. That time hit when you face down. Diving in face first like I can't drown. Too wrong don't make no right. I put my pride aside tonight for you, for you. Ooh, too wrong don't make no right. I put my pride aside tonight for you, for you. Diamond high found this. Come through, be around this. Boom, boom, beat around this. Come through, let me pound this. I feel the unholy spirit when it's moving through. Dark side, dark side. Clearing up all the lies in the rumors too. Dark side, dark side. You say you want my life, you gotta fight me first. Dark side, dark side. Come outside round here, there's nothing like church. Dark side, come and get this life. They talked about Jesus, give them something to Babylon. Just know my whole team is battle tested and battle strong. One world speaking that Tower Babel tongue. Cole Hammurabi thinking ancient Babylon. No pun intended, Reaganomics had us under avalanche. We took off like a rocket, they was praying we could never launch into the upper echelon. You can never be yourself. Every day is Comic-Con, fast money Ramadan. Who collected Condom? Cold check my vital signs. Motel 6 float. Woke up with the brightest mind. Out of sight, out of idle mind. They hate it when you idolize. We living in the final times. Guess you Ellen Keller blind. Spirit when it's moving through. Dark side, dark side. Clearing up all the lies and the rumors too. Dark side, dark side. You say you want my life, you gotta fight me first. Dark side, dark side. Come outside round here, there's nothing like church. Dark side, come and get this life. Put my soul on the altar, I never offer a sacrifice. The blood that we need for the lamb ain't never acting right. I take my path tonight, knowing that I might have to fight. I probably grab a knife and a nine. I guess I'm packing light, focus on the now. Just as much as the afterlife, I recognize the spirit is only taking up half the fight. Stairway to heaven, he won't make it up half a flight. He working, making bacon bits, probably out on the Sabbath night. Shoot for the moon, hoping to hit a satellite. You can ask them why when they see me, they call on Adonai. When we both know at the most he telling you half a lie. Feel the transition begin to happen when passing time. I came back in the sky, just like an astronaut, to say you selling Africans out. See you and asking Mike, and it's sad to say they really had it bad for Christ. And I hear the Habasha thinking they are the half is white. Spirit when it's moving through. Dark side, clearing up all the lies and the rumors too. Dark side, you say you want my life, you gotta fight me first. Dark side, come outside round here, there's nothing like church. Dark side, come and get this life work.
What's good with you, family? What's good? Y'all already know what time it is, man. Power to the dark side. We got another one on the way to you today. We got a couple of conversations we're going to get into, mainly just dealing with critical race theory, right? Dealing with critical race theory. Matter of fact, I need to add let me put the fucking copyright straight, real quick. The copyright shit in the description. Hold on, let me make sure I get all my All right, we're gonna go ahead and get into it. Let me find this though real quick. Make sure I got my little copyright claim. Let's do it right here. We ain't finna play no games. What I need the fair use. So I'm trying to get this. Um, is it really? Really? It's gonna be this hard to find that shit? What I'll do? Go back. My check, my check. Yo, yo, yo. Yo, yo, yo. Can you hear me? There we go. Mic check, mic check. My fault. Yeah, I was getting some shit uh prepared. Hold on, damn, I gotta drop the link for my goddamn self. I'd be forgetting about this part. Oh fuck. Let me drop the link so I can share the screen. So we'll go over here real quick. Boom. Let's go. We'll go here. And then let's see where we at. Where we at? Where we at? Yeah. Yeah, this gonna be a good one. I think this is a conversation that just gotta be had. Appreciate that, GTO. Appreciate Ganocracy Takeover in the building. Appreciate y'all watching from the clouds. Um, yeah, we're gonna get into this. Every time I hear this fucking conversation, I swear to God, it just is irritating as hell. It's irritating as hell hearing it. And it's even worse when you be hearing shit like this from black people because it just kind of just, there we go. Boop. It really just kind of messes up. Hold on. The fuck? Yo, Solar, I got you blocked. The fuck? I don't even see your mess. I see your message over here, but I don't see it on this one. On my screen. That's crazy. I see GTO, no sound. Stop chat. Let's go to live chat. I don't see. Am I the only one that don't see Solar in the chat? Man, he got a wrench on the fuck. That's crazy. Either way, shout out to the commissioner in the building. What's good with you, Solar? I gotta make sure I see it from here. Yeah, I can't see him at all from the StreamYard. This shit ain't showing him. My first message is you. I'm just seeing him over here on the other computer. On the computer. All right. Anyway, let's go ahead and share screen. Get him up in there. Go enter the studio. Yeah, we finna get this shit going. I ain't got time for it. Share screen. Share screen. Boop. Audio. Let's get this show on the fucking road. Got it. Let's see.
Hey, it's Dana from StreamYard. I'm so excited to announce that local.
Let's get this on the road.
Race theory, which is pretty much going to be teaching kids how to hate each other, how to dislike each other. That's pretty much, I don't care what you say, it's pretty much what it's going to all come down to.
Look at this dumbass nigga happy to get some claps.
This white kid right here got it better than you because he white? You're going to purposely tell a white kid, oh, the black people are all down and suppressed. How do I have 2 medical degrees if I'm sitting here oppressed? How did I get, first of all, time out. We've only got 5 minutes now. 5 minutes.
No. First off, man, we just gonna stop it. Now, let me just say this. First off, the nigga, we ain't even gonna get into the fallacy of his whole conversation. His whole premise is built on a fucking straw man. Everything he is stating right now has nothing to do with critical race theory. Neither is critical race theory being taught to his kids. He fucking lying. Now, I ain't gonna say he's lying. The nigga is stupid and he's just ignorant and misinformed, right? And it's sad. This the Fox News shit right here. His dumb ass in here getting applause by white people. Now, and then he don't even realize he's making the typical token nigga argument. This is even worse. Well, if it's so oppressive, how the hell did I get this far? How am I able to do it? Be so successful? Like, nigga, we done had successful niggas. It was successful niggas during slavery, you dumbass nigga. It was successful niggas post-slavery in Jim Crow, dumbass nigga. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? You gonna tell me, damn, man, I can't even think of what's the dude who was dude who did the black guy that was doing open heart surgery. Well, according to them, he was helping with open heart surgery. I can't even think of his name right now. You think that nigga gonna tell you he wasn't oppressed? Look at all of the shit that John Washington Carver was able to create. You still think he gonna tell you, oh, if black people were so oppressed, why was I able to turn a peanut into peanut butter? How was I able to turn the peanut into peanut butter if black people were so oppressed? Get your dumb ass up out of here, nigga.
2 medical degrees. No mom, no dad in the house. Worked my way through college. Sat there and hustled my butt off to get through college. You gonna tell me somebody that looked like all y'all white folks kept me from doing that? Are you serious? What's sickening about this whole thing is what y'all doing right now is
Straw man argument. Once again, nobody's saying that, stupid.
already something I do.
But you just named the conditions. He didn't even realize what he just did. Let's go back. Let's go back real quick.
Hustle my butt off to get through college. You gonna tell me somebody? No, first of all, time up. Because only got 5 minutes now. 5 minutes. 2 medical degrees. No mom, no dad in the house. Worked my way through college. Sat there and hustled my butt off.
2 medical degrees. No mom, no dad in the house. He worked his butt off and he hustled. But the condition that you saying in general, the environment that you was even in, bro, you're saying that you made it through a tough environment in itself, bro. You ain't saying that you got through easy. Niggas ain't saying that it's necessarily, nigga, it's just automatically like, no, you can't go to school. No, you can't graduate. No, you can't get a degree. Nah, bro. But the conditions and shit that the hell that you had to go through in order to even get to where you was, what we saying is, bro, that shit is a byproduct of the system.
Off to get through college. You gonna tell me somebody that looked like all y'all white folks kept me from doing that? Are you serious? What's sickening about this whole thing is what y'all doing right now is already something I do in my community right now to speak out against stuff, because black folks are getting told by other black folks, oh, you know you ain't gonna be able to do nothing out there in the world because them white folks ain't gonna let you get no, or you know you're not gonna be able to do it here because you know the white man gonna keep you down. Well, how did I get where I am right now if some white man kept me down?
See, and number one, it's another point. Nobody is ever making an argument as an individual. Right? We've always had individual success stories. The issues that we have seen is as a collective. As a collective, there has been systemic shit to push us back. Every time we take a step forward, they move the goalposts, we end up 2 steps back. Same thing. That's just like we had the Civil Rights Act. You got the Civil Rights Act, the laws get passed, and what happens? The schools are more segregated. They integrate the schools. As soon as they integrated the schools and they integrated the neighborhoods, what happened? All of the people you were integrated with left. Them same schools we looking at that became famous during the time of the Civil Rights Act. The 60s, the 70s, the 80s, them same schools that was made popular for integration are now all black now. Nigga, you could have stayed at your same fucking school. They're all black. And they having trouble getting funded. Like this is where it gets silly.
How am I now directing over folks that look just like you guys in this room right now? How? What kept me down? What oppressed me? I work for myself from off the streets to where I am right now. You gonna sit here and tell me this lie of critical race theory? Of this the reason why black folks can't get ahead because of white folks? Are you kidding me? This is what we come to now. I can't believe we even talking about this right now. The last thing I'm gonna say right here is something that's crazy. Martin Luther King said he wanted his kids to grow up in a world where they are judged by the contents of their what? Their character, not their skin. If they let this stuff go.
Sir, we got 400 years of content of character. What the fuck is you talking about? We got 400 years of content of character. Then niggas always go back to that speech of Martin Luther King. Go to the other one. See, he won't go to the last speech where what did he talk about? They telling you to pull yourself up by your goddamn bootstraps, and he looking around and saying, "Damn, we ain't even got no boots." Silly niggas.
It's absolutely doing the complete reverse what he's doing. So when February comes, don't talk about Martin Luther King. When February comes, don't talk about Black History Month. Y'all gonna sit there and just pretty much pee on his grave with this nonsense. That's exactly what's about to happen. When it all comes down to it,
Peeing on Martin Luther King's grave. I guess he didn't catch the part where Martin Luther King said, "Nigga, we coming to get our check." He missed that part.
the person that's going to be suffering from this, the one's going to be hurt from this, is the kids. 10 years from now, if this stuff goes on, whose fault is it going to be? Whose fault is it going to be? Who we going to look back on and blame for this? Because this is stuff we're talking about right now. This stuff is going on right now. I do this stuff on a daily basis. I'm in the hood. I'm in the communities. I'm out there with folks in their face. I've been doing stuff since I was 18 years old, talking to Black folks. And you know what? None of them are buying this nonsense. None of them are. But if you want to implement this into the school system, I guarantee you to the day that I die, I'm going to be the very person right there debunking stuff, tearing stuff.
Sir, first off, implement what? Critical race theory? You're lying, stupid. You're lying. They're not implementing anything. Your dumbass is here being a bystander for them to damn, you being a the spokesperson for them to then remove Black history. And this is what we're gonna really get into, the crux of this whole argument. Critical race theory is being used as they're using it in a straw man argument to remove Black history. There is no elementary school that has ever taught critical race theory. Period. Period. Anybody who even know, even anybody who you can even consider an expert on the discussion. There is only a few. I put their pictures. There's only 5 people who are even that you can even go to learn about critical race theory. Nobody ever converses with any of these people. Period. We'll watch a few of these real quick, and then we're gonna cook.
What I did and get exactly where I am by putting themselves to work and getting there. And ain't not one white person ever don't keep any of them from getting there. So the CRT stuff, BS.
Matter of fact, let's go right here real quick. I know exactly what I want to get to. This is a real good one, actually. What was it? Yeah, we're going to go into critical race theory. I want one specific. This guy. Let's get this guy real quick. We got to get this dumbass first. Hold up. I don't know who channel that is. We're going to stay away from that. I got a feeling I'm going to hope Lamont Hill wouldn't get me. All right. We're going to say Lamont Hill ain't going to get me. Exactly. And you know what's crazy? Because and it wasn't that he didn't necessarily agree with the integration. And we speaking about Martin Luther King. What he realized was, and one of the things you'll hear him say, it doesn't matter where the fuck we sitting at on the bus, nigga, if we can't afford to pay for a bus ride. If you can't afford to pay for a bus ride, we should start there first. That's what and that was really what Martin Luther King was saying. That's why, and he ended that with, we coming to get our check. Because at the end of the day, he said, well, damn, in order for us to be able to do, in order for us to be able to do the things that we need to do in a capitalist society, we need what? Capital. Capital. Let me see. I don't want to put it on the other one because I don't know if Brett cool or not. I want to make sure I'm being very careful. What was the dude? Nah, you know what? Fuck that. That nigga strikers, whatever. I don't know who it is. Where I said it was. Yeah, I'm gonna go to it anyway. We'll just hit that one. It's this guy, another coon.
Discovered
deal
I
with
got a
it.
flat tire and no one can help. It pays to be
Let's deal with
prepared.
it.
Keep this in your glove box. This
Republican-controlled states are pushing back against the use.
And see, this was the thing is understanding. So just play the audio. You see. Oh, I could do that. I could do this and then move, change pages. Huh? Poop, let's do it.
Of critical race theory in public schools. As a response to the murder of George Floyd and the nationwide protests it sparked, many schools across the nation have adopted diversity and inclusion trainings, as well as incorporated anti-racism pedagogy as part of the curriculum. But there has been a recent backlash in red states calling to ban critical race theory in schools. The theory is deemed as un-American, vilified as the left's hidden agenda to corrupt the nation and to instill feelings of guilt in white students. 3 days ago, Idaho governor signed a bill into law banning the theory in schools. Similar bills have recently passed the Texas and Oklahoma legislatures and are currently sitting on their governor's desks. And Tennessee is expected to pass a similar ban.
Let's get to it. Because mind you, what we finna get into, here he is. We finna show their argument. None of these people who are arguing against this, and this is what you got to do to people. Ask them, what is critical race theory? And where do you learn about it? We finna go ahead and get into it. Oh, yeah. Because this nigga's
Georgia Department of Education to prohibit the teaching of critical race theory within our public schools. It's time for our schools to stop teaching our kids to hate America. The man behind that tweet, Vernon Jones, he is here with me right now.
And let me say this one more time. What school y'all went to where they was teaching? Nigga, they barely taught black history in general. Like, just think about that. We barely got black history in February. Barely. And whenever we did, that shit was simple as hell. John Washington Carver created the peanut. Martin Luther King marched for we could all be free. And here we are today. That's pretty much your story when it comes to black history in regular schools. So it's kind of ironic. We don't even get into really social political discussions, especially in elementary. Like, what the hell are these people talking about? And if they are, that's your teacher, your personal teacher. You have a personal teacher that's going rogue. And 9 times out of 10, that teacher didn't even go to a law school where they even taught critical race theory. Period.
On Black News Tonight to have a wonderful conversation. Brother Jones, so good to see you. I want to start off, and we have plenty of time, so I want to make sure we flesh all this out. I have just a couple of questions, just clarifying questions, so I understand where you stand. You want to completely ban critical race theory in Georgia public schools. Is that accurate?
That is accurate because of the contents of it. I think that it clearly needs to be reevaluated. What it is doing is just creating an environment that is hostile towards one race or another. And I don't think we should be in that posture. I think there's a way that we can strike a balance where no child is feeling like, hey, because of my race, I'm paying for something I had nothing to do with. So that's all. I just think it needs to be redone, revamped, and amended.
Okay. What is critical race theory?
Well, actually, I think it's different depending on who's teaching it and how they're teaching it. I think you can agree with that. We were taught that Christopher Columbus discovered America. Well, you and I both know that Christopher Columbus got lost.
Excuse me, sir. No. See, that's where you just he fucked up already. No, we don't agree with you, sir. Notice it. Let's go back real quick. Notice his first statement. Look at Lamar here. That nigga funny as shit. Shout out to the Griot Politics too.
We were taught that Christopher Columbus discovered America. Well, you and I both know that Christopher Columbus got lost. People are already living here. But there are those who are using their own ideology. Feeling like, hey, because of my race, I'm paying for something I had nothing to do with. So that's all. I just think it needs to be redone, revamped, and amended.
Okay. What is critical race theory?
Well, actually, I think it's different depending on who's teaching it and how they're teaching it. I think you can agree with that. We were taught that Christopher Columbus discovered America.
No, sir, we don't agree with that. That nigga said it depends on it depends on who's teaching it. And then he goes into some false ass history about Christopher Columbus is discovering America. What? What the fuck are you talking about right now, bro? Lost already. But let's keep going.
Well, you and I both know that Christopher Columbus got lost. People are already living here. But there are those who are using their own ideology and their own party affiliation to go to the extreme. And that's all I'm trying to address here.
But what does that have to do with critical race theory? Let me pause for 1 second. I'm trying to understand though. You oppose critical race theory, which I understand. I'm just asking, what is it? What is the thing you define it? Like, for example, if I said I'm against creationism, I would say creationism is X, Y, and Z, right? If I said I was against the teaching of sex education, I say, well, sex education is X, Y, and Z, and I'd have a basis for it. What is critical race theory?
Well, first of all, again, I can tell you, but it's left up to you to understand. I can't make you understand. The fact of it is, the critical race theory, even on its basis, should not be taught in our schools, period. Now, if you can't understand,
but what is it?
If you want to debate on,
sir, what the fuck was that? A simple question. This what I be meaning. Simple question asked. Simple question. First off, who the fuck voted this nigga in? Let's start right there. Who voted this nigga? Like, come on. He asked a very simple question. That man said, basically, fuck what you talking about. That shit gotta go. What? Sir, what is going? What are you getting rid of? That's all we want to know. What exactly are you removing from the school?
If I said I was against the teaching of sex education, I said, well, sex education is X, Y, and Z, and I'd have a basis for it. What is critical race theory?
well, first of all, again, I can tell you, but it's left up to you to understand. I can't make you understand. The fact of it is, the critical race theory, even on its basis, should not be taught in our schools, period. Now, if you can't understand,
but what is it?
If you want to debate, well, to me, what it does, to me, my interpretation, as well as many others.
No, not what it does. What is it? How do you define it? I mean, that's asking you to define critical race theory because my audience may not know.
Well,
say it
obviously
again.
You don't know, and you haven't. I said obviously you don't know, and you haven't told your audience. But again, how I see it, and how I see. Well, then what is it then?
No. Wait a minute. Nigga. Hey, you know he finna get on some thinking shit right now. That nigga say, well, what is it then? No, sir. Give me an explanation of it. Then maybe from there we can go into get into what it really is. But until then, bro. But he can't even humble himself to just be like, you know what? Actually, I really don't know what it is. I really don't know how to explain it. I can't articulate my point. And we can tell he don't have a leg to stand on. This is why he finna revert to this shit. Watch this.
Just answer. I'll tell you what. Just
I will.
For me. Let's not get into debate. Okay, I'm waiting for you to answer. Go ahead and answer.
I will. Just hold on 1 second.
Just answer.
You're saying that on day one,
No, answer the question first. You answer the first question.
Sir, who voted? Who voted for this guy? Who voted for this guy? Like, I don't really care which side is which, but goddamn, yo, the conservative side, yo, it comes down to like professionalism and shit. This nigga on here, what the fuck are you doing? Grown ass man that's supposed to be leading a whole fucking city. The hell is wrong with you? Like, who does this, bro?
What it does to me, my interpretation, as well as many others.
No, not what it does. What is it? How do you define it? I mean, that's asking you to define critical race theory because my audience may not know.
Well,
say it
obviously
again.
You don't know, and you haven't. I said obviously you don't know, and you haven't told your audience. But again, how I see it, and how
I
it's
don't
being
know.
received. Well, then what is it then? No, what is it then?
So you
Okay,
want me to
well,
help? See, now you want me to help you make your argument. No, sir, I'm not going to help you make your argument. No, make your argument. Can you please set your premise? We don't have no idea what you talking about, nigga. You just saying we need to get rid of this. You went from, he asked you about Christopher Columbus, and he asked you about critical race theory. You talking about Christopher Columbus never discovered America. What the hell has that got to do with critical race theory, sir?
But you're saying
just answer. I'll tell you what. Just
I
answer
will.
for me. Let's
Absolutely.
not get into debate. Okay, I'm waiting for you to answer. Go ahead and answer.
I will. But just hold on one
answer.
second.
Just answer.
You're saying that on day one,
Answer
answer
the question first. You answer the first question.
I promise I'll answer your question.
Wait till you answer. Well, I want you to answer before you move on.
That's fine. But
what is it? You can't tell your audience what it is.
I think
if you can't tell your audience what it is,
sir, I'm going to answer.
Hey, bro. Hey, and at this point, Mark gotta get control of this goddamn. Hey, nigga, this is your shit. Don't let this nigga come in here bullshit. Like, like, hey, bro, you got 30 seconds, bro, to explain your fucking point. I'm booting your ass. You're not finna come up here and play games. All that weirdo shit, like we in school or something. This nigga a duck.
Can't talk over each other, brother. I'm happy to answer your question, but I want to finish my question on my show. So what I'm saying is, on day one, you've made a statement that on day one, you're going to have an executive order to ban something, and you have yet to define what the thing is you're going to ban. I'm happy to answer it. I happen to have expertise in this area, but I would think because you are going to make as an executive order a ban of something, I would think
this nigga's a kid.
What it does. You've mentioned Christopher Columbus, which has nothing to do with critical race theory. Critical race theory. You asked me to answer your question. There's plenty of time. We can go 3 segments. We got all night, so we'll have all the time in the world, brother. I do want to answer.
I didn't ask you for an editorial. I asked you to answer, and you went through editorial. And let me say this. First of all, I'm on your show.
So critical race theory.
I didn't ask to be on your show. Let's be clear. Now, I'll let you talk. Now, allow me to talk. You dialed into me and asked me
to come on your show.
You're not correct. So don't pull that card that this is your show, because I got drafted. I didn't try for your team. You asked me to come on your show, so let's be clear about it. Effectively, you have not answered what is the critical race theory, because no matter what I said, I told you I was banning it. That's it. Now you tell me what it is. Tell me, since you're the expert.
Sure.
Because you these so-called experts. Did you write it? Did you write it? Did you write it? You're the expert.
No.
Did you?
Okay. So
what makes you expert? What makes you an expert?
What makes me an expert is that for the last 15 years, I've been a trained scholar with an Ivy League PhD who has written and studied race. What makes me an expert is that I've lectured widely around the world on critical race theory.
PhDs come a dime a dozen. So because you have a PhD, you're an expert. But what county?
No, I don't actually. Actually, a PhD does make you an expert.
I don't pull that PhD.
Actually, sir,
what it says is that you walk around like you got a PhD, but you know what? You're just as dumb as 2 left shoes because you're a PhD.
Whoa. We're not. Hold on, sir. Here's what we're not going to do. Here's what y'all got to mute his mic. Y'all got to mute his mic. Y'all got to mute his mic. This is what I'm saying. If you talk over me and call, we're not going to name call on the show. I have not name called you, sir. You have come on the show. You're a Black Republican. I have not called you a name. I've not called you Uncle Tom. I've not called you a handkerchief head. I've not called you a Sambo. I've not called you a shine. I've not called you a ham bone. I haven't done any of that. So you're not going to come on my show and call me dumb. What I will tell you is that critical race theory is a theory that actually emerged out of critical legal studies. It is a theory that makes an attempt to understand the law through the lens of race, and it's founded on some fundamental presumptions. One is the intractability of race and racism, meaning that it's an intractable problem in America, and that we have to use the lens of race to make sense of things. It also is based on the use of counter stories. Listening to as Derek Bell, the critical race scholar, said, the voice is at the bottom of the well to make sense of the world and to make sense of the law. These are 2 big theories, 2 big pillars of it. And so what we want to do, if you want to
notice, is based around law. I just want y'all to notice that. Oh, you out there in what is that, Fulton? That's Fulton County, right? Yeah, I think Fulton County. Shout out to you. What's good? I am John. Now notice it's in reference to law. Law. where do you think you're going to learn about law at? In elementary school? Or going to take the bar? Continue.
Why? But the problem is, all these Republicans, all of these scholars, all of these Republicans, all of these non-scholars, they say, I'm going to ban critical race theory, and they can't answer it. And then he says, well, if you can't answer it, then you must not know what it is. It's on something like he who smelt it dealt it kind of logic. The fact of the matter is he can't define it because he don't know what it is. They look for things to ban to signal to white people, hey, I got your back. They ban things that aren't even an issue. There is no public school teacher in America who is attempting to put critical race theory in schools. Critical race theory isn't even taught in high school. It's not even really taught in college. It is taught in law school, and it is increasingly been taught in graduate school because it is a set.
Did we get that? It's not taught, and we're gonna get some of the people, right? Matter of fact, we're gonna get word from Kimberly Crenshaw on critical race theory, what it is. But did you catch that? It's not something that's taught in elementary. It's not even fucking taught in high school. It ain't even taught in most colleges. That's why I kept saying it's only a select few colleges, and those are law schools. So anybody telling you anything outside of that, they took their baby to school today and the teacher was teaching critical race theory. They're fucking lying. How many teachers do you think passed the goddamn bar? Like, think about it. How many elementary teachers do you think even pass the bar to even be able to have a discussion on critical race theory? How many? You think it's teachers that went to law school, passed the bar so you could go and be an elementary teacher and teach none of what you was taught? Come on, man. Y'all got to be stopped. This is what I be talking about. This is a straw man argument. They're using critical race theory as a straw man argument to remove Black history. So when he asked him, what is it? What is critical race theory? He can't even tell you what the fuck he getting ready to take out of his own schools. What he's finna revamp. You finna revamp what? What are you revamping? You have no idea. Slow person. You're changing Black history.
Of theories and understandings to make sense of our lived realities through the law and through everyday life. Those are the things we should be talking about. So if you want to be a Black Republican, your first day in office as governor, which you ain't going to be because you ain't going to beat Stacey Abrams as a Black Republican, you only in the line because the line is short. But if you want to do this, your first thing, not to ban bullying, not to try and do something against the violence in LGBT students, not to do something about the gap in resources. Instead, you're going to ban a theory that nobody's trying to bring in the first place. That is a smoke signal to white America and really to white racists. 1/3 of America's school children now have restricted or no access to concepts related to race, racism, and gender along the lines of critical race theory. According to a new study conducted by researchers at UCLA and UC San Diego, almost 18 million public school children in nearly 900 school districts, that's 35% of all K-12 students across the nation, have been impacted by concerted local efforts and a barrage of laws and policies that are directed to restrict or even ban the teaching of critical race theory. Surveying almost 300 educators and 20 equity officers and analyzing 10,000 news articles between September 2020 and August 2021 about CRT, the Conflict Campaign report also shows many educators are now afraid to discuss issues around race or racism or to promote the concepts of diversity, equity, and inclusion. They also worry that this current climate will further curtail students' motivation to freely exchange ideas and views. Joining me now to discuss critical race theory is Kimi Katiti. She is an interdisciplinary artist and a video.
We got another one.
Thank you so much for joining me. You have a YouTube video.
It's cooning at an all-time high.
Million views where you say you hate critical race theory. Summarize for me. Why do you hate it?
Well, I'll be very brief. I was kind of taken in by critical social justice pedagogy during my time in college. That turned my worldview very essentialist. So I believed that my opportunities in life were limited to my identity markers. Because I am a Black woman, I'm not going to have opportunities. I am not going to be presented with opportunities for promotion. And so that really lessened my world.
That's not what critical race theory teaches. It does not teach that. So what happened? Now this is very interesting, right? Because according to her, she took the class. So if what she got from the class in critical race theory, all they're doing is going over the numbers, basically. How they're categorizing things into race. They're breaking down each race and they're showing by percentage how does this affect this group? How does that affect this group? How does that affect this group? Anybody, and that's all it does. That's all it does. Let's say, even looking at numbers like, okay, how often does black males pulled over by police just for walking down the street or whatever it may be? It will actually, the question will be raised: how often are men pulled over walking down the street? Then we can go into, okay, now to break it down: how often are white men? How often are Mexican? How often are black men? So anything that they're telling you critical race theory is saying, no, that's based off of a conclusion that you received based off of the information and the numbers that were put out there. All critical race theory is doing is saying 2 + 2 equals, and your dumb ass is going 4. I don't like it. Okay, cool. You don't have to like it. But at the end of the day, 2 + 2 = 4. That's not going to change. But let's let her explain herself.
Worldview. Coming out of that, however, I began to realize true empowerment in knowing that there is hope for my future because I am embracing concepts such as forgiveness and healing, and critical social justice kind of produced an anger within me whenever I integrated microaggressions, for example.
So I'm a bit confused. What in critical race theory did you read that operates against forgiveness and healing? And what did you read that said that there's no opportunity for progress or for advancement on a job?
Yeah, absolutely.
She didn't read anything. She made that shit the fuck up based off of, and let's just say we're gonna give her the benefit of the doubt based on the information or what she studied on critical race theory. She came to the conclusion based on the numbers, I ain't gonna get no opportunity. That ain't what it's teaching. That's the conclusion you made.
The whole entire critical pedagogy, just to be very broad, has been very detrimental for my own opportunities and my own outlook on life. Now, if we want to get specific,
no, but I'm asking what specifically you read that said that. I mean, I understand your position on how you reacted to it, but what I'm asking is, where does it say that? What did you read that said that? What can you name anything? Can you point to anything? I'm not asking you to point to a page number, but I'm saying in general, like what are the concepts? What are the ideas that you read that suggested any of these things?
Yeah, so I can specifically cite Ibrahim Kendi, for example, who believes that present-day discrimination is necessary to undo discrimination of the past. Now, I kind of walked in that for a little bit, and that's just a citation, but again, I want to...
Wait. What? Did you just take somebody's personal opinion and pin it to critical race theory? She just took somebody's personal opinion and pinned it to critical race theory, and that's why she don't like it. She's already off. She just fell. She just fell flat on her face and don't even know it. This is what I be meaning. You paid all that money for this education and you didn't get any intellect.
That the broad concepts like microaggressions, for example, are what were fed into my
What's good
during my time in college.
What's a
executive sessions?
What's a microaggression?
Pardon?
What's a microaggression? You said you said you have issue with microaggression.
Yes. So I do believe microaggressions are real. I'm not out here to deny that. That's not what I'm talking about.
I need you to, what is a microaggression? You're saying?
Yes.
I'm asking you to define it. What is a microaggression?
A microaggression in my case would be, for example, someone not passing me over for an opportunity at work, for example, and believing that that's probably due to my race. Or if we can narrow it down to a more everyday situation, people sitting next to me, scooting over or choosing other seating, and maybe preferring to be with a group of white students or white people, white coworkers. To me, that's my understanding of microaggressions. Is that the same for you or no?
Okay, so no, because I've read this work carefully. So let me back up and address all the things you said. I wanted to make sure I heard you out first. So first of all, I asked you to say something in Ibram Kendi. I'm sorry, I asked you to name something in critical race theory that that speaks to a lack of forgiveness or healing.
Yes.
And you point to Ibram Kendi, which and he doesn't speak against forgiveness and healing. In fact, he's actually done a great deal of work talking about forgiveness and healing. Also, Ibram Kendi's not a critical race theorist. He doesn't identify as a critical race theory. His work's not in a critical race theory canon. It's not in a critical race.
I'm glad he just hit that, because that was the part I forgot to mention on the last part. And not only did you attach somebody's opinion to critical race theory, but you attach somebody who's not even an accredited race theorist. Who the fuck are you talking about? This is what I be saying. You're not going to hear Derek Bell. You're not going to hear Kimberly Crenshaw. You're not going to hear these names.
He's a historian who talks about who talks about race across time. So so you're saying totally, which means you're agreeing with me. But when I asked you to name a critical race theorist or a critical race piece, when you asked you to name a piece of critical race theory that talked about that operated against these interests, you point to someone who's not a critical race theorist, and then you said that he argues that discrimination now is necessary to argue to fight discrimination or to redress discrimination in the past. Even if I concede that that's what he's arguing, and it's not what he's arguing, that's a misreading. But even if he were arguing that, his argument would be that Black people and that the people most marginalized should get special benefits now. If you as a Black person were marginalized, if you as a Black woman were marginalized at the intersection of race and gender, then you would actually be the person most likely to make that argument. If anything, a white guy could make the argument that Ibram Kendi or this argument will operate against his interests. But you
Oh, my fault. I'm muted. Critical race theory is viewing situations that we go through on a regular basis, that everybody goes through, and it views them through the lens of race to see what is the discrepancy. So we've been talking about, okay, why are we the last? Or like, who is being hired and fired? Okay, cool. Now, critical race theory show, well, damn, we'll go into the numbers. Okay, these are the people getting hired at this percent. These are the people getting fired at this percent. Okay, so now what critical race theory do? First, it's going to eliminate things. Okay, is it based on education? When you go into the education, no. Okay, is it based on is it based on certain credentials? No, they're gonna say the same thing. It's not based on any of that. So even if you it's not based on credentials or any of that type of stuff. Even if you're trying to argue it that like or no, even if you go into like how we view pregnancy, we know Black women are highly endangered just giving birth inside of a hospital. Now, how do we know that it's Black women? Well, when we look at it now, without critical race theory, you would just look at all women. But critical race theory breaks it down by race. Okay. So, and then it goes in like even you can go into the numbers. Okay. Is education a difference? No. Is it where they live at the difference? No. Is it about their financial benefits? No. None of these things end up being it. So, and critical race theory doesn't say, oh, it's because they're Black. It doesn't have to say that. You draw that conclusion. You're going to come to that conclusion based off of the numbers. We've looked at it. The CDC already put out. They can't even find any other reason or any other difference in people and Black women dying, their mortality rate, giving birth, than simply is just because they're Black. It ain't got nothing to do with teaching people about forgiveness and who you don't forgive and all of this crazy mess. This is philosophy.
Like number one, it's a philosophy. So she lied. She don't have a critical race theorist that turned her off to critical race theory. She done created a whole straw man based on a dude that ain't even a damn that ain't even a critical race theorist.
You said that critical race theory made you think that your opportunities were.
Shout out to Nyame. What's good? Shout out to the Sith Lord. Hey man, also man, happy Father's Day to everybody out there too, man. Happy Father's Day. Definitely appreciate y'all.
Less than, when in fact, based on what you said, your future is more bright based on the premise that the people who caught the most hell are getting the most back. So this whole argument here, and then the microaggression part, the idea of getting lastly, just to address the last point you said, this idea of not getting a job because of your race is not a microaggression. That, you know, a structural inequality or structural deprivation of resources is not a microaggression. Microaggressions refer to things that happen at the micro interactional level as opposed to the macro interactional level. And so I would ask you, and then we can move on to one more thing in the minute we have left. I just want to ask you one more question, then I want you to respond to everything. Mm-hmm. Can you name one actual critical race theory book that you've read?
Yes, I have read Stefancic and Delgado, An Introduction to Critical Race Theory. And actually, in the introduction of I have referenced and have cited on all my videos in the resources. There is an introduction that states the definition of microaggressions. And you're actually echoing everything that I just said, of course, because I'm on the show to be slam dunked on. A lot of it will get convoluted. But if you are enacting present day discrimination, you are living through a lens of vengeance, of justification. However, we can't be, now when it comes to children, and want to talk about that study, if you want to, reference it, you don't want people to grow up with that race essentialist lens where we can't read through the semantics. Children can't read through that nuance, and they will embrace this idea of vengeance, vengefulness, having an attitude of retribution. And that's kind of at the heart of this matter. We can play games of if CRT is in schools or not, but hey, this is what I believe. This is my opinion, and I believe it's valid, and a lot of people have the same sentiments, feel the same way.
Well, I haven't said anything about CRT being in or out of schools. That feels like a straw man. But let's take a break, and we'll come back after the break and keep. I didn't say that at all. No, I didn't say that at all.
It was referenced.
I got to take a break. I'll be
No.
No, I'm saying I didn't say that.
And this is the sad part. She heard everything he said, and at the end of it, she said, "You're saying exactly what I'm saying." No, you're not. No, you're not. He asked you a clear-cut question. What is it that turned you off to critical race theory? You said the lack of forgiveness is teaching not to forgive. He asked, okay, where did you get that from? You quoted a guy that had nothing to do with the curriculum or the theory. And now you're saying that everything that you were saying, he's saying, stop it.
I'm not arguing that point. We can have that conversation, but I haven't had it yet. So let me take a break because I have to. And then we'll come back and we'll continue the conversation. Everybody stay right here. More Black News Tonight coming up. We continue where we left off, discussing issues around critical race theory. Kimmy, so let's pick up where we left off. Kimmy Katiti is with me. So just to be clear, you're not here to be dunked on. We're here to have an engaged conversation. I've asked questions and I've responded. You're saying that I've sort of disregarded what you said, and you were actually in agreement. I'm saying we're not in agreement. When I asked you, the reason I asked you what these points was not to say gotcha or catch you, but to understand where we're operating from. So when you say we're saying the same thing, you said that an example of a microaggression, just as one example, is you not getting a job because you're Black. And what I said is that's actually not how microaggression is defined. You mentioned that I asked you what you'd read because I want to know where you saw that. And you mentioned Delgado and Stefanovich, which is it's an introductory textbook, and they don't define it that way either. What they actually define microaggression as is sort of small interactions that would be largely unnoticed by members of the interaction, right? And certainly of the person of the person engaged. And being denied a job because you're Black wouldn't qualify. So I'm saying that's just objectively wrong. That's a different issue. But I don't want to get hemmed up in that. I just want to be clear that I wasn't being pedantic. Yes, but I didn't disagree with the second example. I disagree with the first example because it was wrong, and so
Okay,
I'm just
fair
pointing
enough.
that out. But thank you. So, but to move forward, just because I want to educate the audience properly, but moving more largely to the bigger question here, you say that CRT doesn't leave any space to forgive and forget. Data consistently shows that students of color are actually more likely to be disciplined than their white peers. They're more likely to receive harsher punishments for the same infractions in school. They're also less likely to be placed in advanced classes.
Boom. That's CRT. That's CRT. We're just looking at how we are affected by the system in general. That's it.
Would you agree with that data?
I have not been keen on that data very detailed.
Wow.
I think I'm informed enough to present an opinion on that right now.
Wow.
That's fair. If that were true, just assume, indulge me for a minute, assume that the mounds of empirical data that show this over the last 5, 6, 7 decades is true. If it is true, would it not be important for teachers and administrators to be cognizant of the way that race operates in school, perhaps unknowingly to them?
I would entertain that. I don't think that's off the table. However, I think in John McWhorter's book Woke Racism, he does tackle a broad spectrum of issues, but also the outcome of disciplining or withholding discipline from students who happen to be students of color.
We're gonna go into that one next.
Have been. So I don't know if that's the specific case, the same case that was referenced. But if we approach these issues with critical social justice pedagogy, critical social justice approaches, we end up harming students of color in the end because
what would be an example
again,
of
in the
that?
words of John McWhorter,
Just so I understand what you're
Black people are viewed.
Just so I understand, I want to get your opinion, not John. John's been on the show. I love John. He's a friend. But John made a polemic text, right? He wasn't data driven.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not necessarily helpful to say, well, John said it too. That would be that's what we call a logical fallacy, right? An appeal to authority. What I'm asking is something slightly different. I'm saying, can you explain you said if we take a critical social justice pedagogy approach, that's a lot of words, right? None of which are critical race theory. But even if it were, what does that mean? What does that look like? Because what I pointed to is the fact that, for example, Black kids are over-disciplined in school. They're suspended.
Exactly.
They get in trouble more. All the data shows is what I'm saying is, you're saying if we take the wrong approach, it makes the problem worse. Fine. What does the wrong approach look like based on you?
The wrong approach would be to, for example, limit discipline, for example, when it comes to students of color, and say that we're just going to allow students to exist without any discipline because that disadvantages students of color. Or,
excuse me, man, what the hell are you talking about? What? He gave you the floor and this comes out your mouth?
That shows us what I'm saying is, you're saying if we take the wrong approach, it makes the problem worse. Fine. What does the wrong approach look like based on you?
The wrong approach would be to, for example, limit discipline, for example, when it comes to students of color, and say that we're just going to allow students to exist without any discipline because that disadvantages students of color. And then having those numbers increase. Numbers of students.
Has anyone ever argued that? What I'm saying is, do you know of any program, any curriculum, any people who are actually arguing, for example, we shouldn't discipline Black kids just for social justice reasons? No, the argument here, and feel free to, who?
Action was taken for a group of students. Now, I don't have the information in front of me, but action was taken to have a certain approach for those issues.
Stop it. Stop it. Ain't nobody ever said just have them run wild. The problem is kids being sent into juvenile detention centers for talking back. Kids being sent to juvenile detention centers for chewing gum. Kids being sent to juvenile detention centers for not paying attention, for being disruptive. And what happens when you go into a juvenile detention center? there's almost a 90-something% chance that your ass is headed with the big boys in jail.
What approach? What's the certain approach?
The approach of not disciplining students who happen to be students of color for fear.
Yeah, Mark be tripping.
Into the disadvantage that is seen in that
Mark
data.
be tripping.
Right. So if you look at actually the sort of social justice approach to school discipline, it doesn't argue that. I've read all of it. And if you can name one that contradicts what I'm saying, I'll concede the point. But what it actually says is that we should look to alternatives to suspensions, right? Not just for Black kids, but for students across the board, because they're not an effective preventative measure, and they tend to ruin kids' educational outcomes. No one's arguing that schools shouldn't discipline students. That's never been the argument. For example, if you cut school every day and I punish you by suspending you from school for cutting school, that's not a smart punishment, right? That's literally telling you don't have to come to school because you cut school. The argument is we should do something different that would actually solve the problem. And so the idea that somehow we're trying to ignore our responsibility to children and not teach them is simply untrue. The idea that we're not supposed to, that children aren't learning the values of forgiveness or justice by pointing out race is not true at all. I do dispute the idea that CRT is being taught in schools, but I do think that the CRT conversation, as the data is showing, is making it hard for people, regardless of whether we think CRT is being taught in school, it's making it hard for people to talk about race at all. And it's making it hard for people to have race targeted or race specific policies, but it's also making it hard to talk about race in very basic ways in elementary school textbooks and readers and in social studies class and history in high school. The school more broadly look like that considers race, if at all?
An approach would be one that doesn't dismiss the efforts of people that were, say, activists in apartheid South Africa or in the civil rights era, and try to modify their words or modify their teachings to fit this sort of third wave of anti-racism, again, with my logical fallacy of appealing to authority. I would suggest that we integrate maybe a view of both and maybe introduce those concepts a little later in life, perhaps high school or college, where people are able to really critically dive into these texts, maybe on their own, investigate the sources, rather than make it very simplistic and divide the world based in black and white, or white privilege and blackness, and allow students to be more of the age where they're ready to wrestle with these topics because they are heavy.
They are heavy. I've never met the text or the suggestions you're talking about, but I'd love to read them. Hopefully you can send them to me. Hopefully you can come back to the show and we can discuss those too.
Absolutely.
Kimmy, thank you so much for joining me on Black News Tonight.
I'm gonna go ahead and start this one real quick. We'll get into this because it's a horrible argument. So yeah, let's get into this. Is who she quoted, right? And let's say this is who she misquoted. And you ain't lying. You get him on that gender shit, but you ain't finna get him on no CRT. or no Middle East shit, for real. Hey, Mark be on point on that shit.
If you live in Arizona and you're looking for a guest
Yeah,
house,
we finna get into it. We're finna get into it. Watch a little bit of his commercial so you get these ads. I think you need the I think you gotta watch a little bit of that shit so they get paid for the ad too.
The best part is we handle the entire process from start to finish.
We're gonna show some love.
Meaning the permitting and the full construction for your unit. So you don't have to worry about any of it. If you want to learn more, head over to our website and schedule a call with our team.
Welcome back to Black News Tonight. My next guest is called both a conservative and a liberal, a reactionary and a thoughtful man. It just depends on who you ask. He now argues that the current anti-racism ideology is a new religion of the left. The renowned linguist John McWhorter is in interesting space in his new book, Woke Racism. He lashes out at what he calls the third wave anti-racism, which positions racism to be the totality of Black American experience. And he also calls out the Black elect, names such as Ibram Kendi, Ta-Nehisi Coates, Nicole Hannah-Jones. These are the folk who are promoting these ideas that he argues infantilize Black people. I always find John to be provocative and thoughtful and interesting and civil, and that's why I love talking to him. And that's why I'm glad to have him on Black News Tonight right now. Again, John McWhorter, the author of Woke Racism. He's also, by the way, has a day job. He's an associate professor of English and comparative literature at Columbia University. John, good to see you as always. Before asking why you see anti-racism as the new religion of the left, I first would like for you to define what you mean when you say anti-racism ideology.
Well, what I mean is anti-racism in this modern guise. I don't mean civil rights activism. I don't mean what we thought of as anti-racism if we use that word in, say, 2015. I mean this new idea that you have to think of yourself, if you're white, as complicit and therefore guilty within an abstract system, that you need to think of whiteness as a state of fragility because nobody wants to admit just how deeply racist they are. And also where we see whole institutions turned upside down, where there's a focus on battling power differentials as the main meal rather than one of about 7 or 8. So we're talking about what many people think of as quote unquote crazy wokeness. And I don't think it's crazy. I'm not into calling people names, but it's this thing that's confusing a lot of people, including Black people. And I think that we need to question some of its basic underpinnings.
One of the things you do in the book is you lay out who your audience is, because the default assumption is that you are writing this book in a sort of cynical way to, get book sales from conservatives who already agree with you, or white people who would trust this argument from a Black voice. In the book, you get at this, but help us understand who is the audience for this book and why did you write it?
Well, I think I should say one thing. The idea that someone like me would sit and think, I'm going to write a book for white people who want to be absolved of their racism because they'll give me a lot of money. What kind of human being would that be? That has nothing to do with anything I have ever thought or been.
What type of human being? The typical coon shit.
For white people who are concerned about racism and want to be the best people they can be, but are being, I think, distracted by this notion that virtue signaling and policing language and examining your complicity is the same thing as helping Black people who need help out in the real world. I wrote this book because I think that we have a detour in the civil rights revolution. I'm not questioning that the civil rights revolution was good. I am not a man of the right. I know a lot of people think that I'm a conservative Republican. I get why they think that, but I'm not. I've never voted Republican in my life. I want us to get back to helping Black people who need help. And this new version of anti-racism strikes me as being more about talking about things and showing each other that we're sophisticated. I don't think that's good enough.
John, I think part of the challenge for the book is that some of the arguments you make certainly give space for those people who you don't vote for and who you don't
Facts. Or capitalists.
Acts of racism. So they'll take your Chrissy Teigen example, or they'll take the example you give in the book of the dean who said that Black Lives Matter, but also every life matters. And wasn't able to keep the deanship. They'll draw on those examples as evidence that we're wokeism, a word I hate as you do, going amok, and that there are no legitimate instances of racism. There are no legitimate ways that institutions and faculty members and police and politicians are actually undermining the capacity for Black people to prosper in this country.
Sure, but the thing is, for the audience that I'm writing to, we all know that racism exists. Frankly, it's an old point. We know, we've experienced it. Now, are there some people who are going to take my writings and misinterpret them from the right wing? Sure. But the question is, does that mean that I shouldn't write? Or, more to the point, does it mean that I should only write in a way that I hem and haw so much that I never really said anything and nobody reads it? No. And the reason that I say that is because, let's face it, there are people who are to the left of me who have, for example, the more, if I may, strident anti-racist message. Their views are misinterpreted and misconstrued and utilized by the hard right, where they say, oh, look at all of this ridiculousness. And yet we would never say of those people, don't write what you write because, you know, the alt-right is going to misrepresent it. Well, it's the same thing here. All of us are going to be misrepresented by people we would rather not do it to an extent. But the question is, does that mean that, one, we don't write, or two, more to the point, that we hem and haw so much that we don't say anything? I'm sorry, but I can't do that. Life is short.
I won't belabor this point, but I would push back a little bit and say, I think the difference is if the dominant reading of a text, if the dominant interpretation of a text is one that is different than the author intends, then the author also has to be sort of self-critical and accountable about the political work to which the text is used, even if the author's intention is somewhat different. It's maybe my own kind of pushback against the kind of postmodern, the death of the author kind of arguments, you know. But I do want to get you to push a little bit on one of the arguments you make, which is that there's this sort of contradictory position that white people are forced into, where they're supposed to listen to the voices of people of color, but not listen too loud, or you give like 10 or 12 sort of examples of some of the contradictions that to me didn't really feel like contradictions. They just feel like some of the challenges of being white, or some of the legitimate responsibilities rather of being white in a white supremacist world. First of all, could you talk about some of those sort of contradictions that you talked about?
Mm-hmm. Here's the answer to what you're saying, Mark. First of all, I will get to the contradictions. The book is about what will turn Black America upside down. That's my main concern. And people should know that it's not just all about me complaining about things people have said. At the end of the book, at length, I talk about here are the things that we need because there are Black people who need help. And that is not playing into the right wing. That has nothing to do with telling people they need to pull themselves up by their own bootstraps or pull their pants up. That's not what this book is about. I am writing because I'm concerned.
Forgive my spelling. I fucked her name up.
What about the contradictions? Let's try this. I'm going to take one of those things in the list that you said. If you know a white person who never dates anybody Black, you think, well, that must be because they're a racist. Then, if you know a white person and you see them dating a Black person, you're allowed to say, well, we have to allow for, you're not going to say it straight, but you have to
facts, executives.
They're exotifying that person. Both things. Now, if you hate both of those things, what exactly is a white person supposed to do? Now, my point is not just to say, yeah, that doesn't make any sense. What I'm saying is that we're taught that.
You know what? And it's funny that you say that, executive sessions, because a lot of people don't remember when Domo first joined the league, right? A lot of people don't really remember his debate, and everybody labels Domo as just an automatic liberal. But remember, his first debate, or one of his first debates, was against Orthodox Moore, and Orthodox Moore was arguing for liberalism, and it was Domo that was actually making the argument against it. A lot of people really fail to realize that.
Of racism in everything that we see. And I'm saying that exercise, and it becomes kind of an exercise, doesn't have anything to do with helping Black people in underserved communities make their lives better. I think we're distracted by posturing over what I think of as actual activism.
And I guess for me, that framing makes it seem as if that framing makes it seem as if white people are forced to confront an impossible set of circumstances, which to me encourages white people to just throw their hands up and say, well, look, these people are never going to be satisfied, so I might as well just live life as normal, as opposed to saying, hey, my lack of attraction to, and they're making me take a break. But my lack of a white person, you could say to a white person, look, maybe if you've never been attracted to a Black person, that could be rooted in some kind of anti-Blackness, right? But
nah.
An obsession with it. And I'd say the same thing for a Black person.
No, I'm gonna disagree for that. Disagree with that shit.
On the other side. Everybody stay with me. Welcome back.
I'm gonna disagree with that every time. And part of my disagreement with that too is because earlier that was actually the video I almost went in on. Because another argument was that the Cholo culture was stolen and they owe it to, like, hold on, bro. Number one, y'all talking about California politics. Please stay away from California politics. And dude tried to make the argument that because somebody chooses not to be cool with bringing one of us home to marry their kid or they daughter or their son, that mean that they just hate it. No, I don't want my daughter or son bringing nobody else home. What the fuck are y'all talking about? I mean, I hate you. I like having black babies and black grandchildren. I don't know what the fuck y'all talking about. It's not, you don't have to hate me. Like, that's not. Yeah, you know, Orthodox blow you with Orthodox boy blow you with his shit. For real. He be having me dying. Cause I ain't gonna lie, I didn't even think he was gonna argue for I thought it would have been, I think everybody kind of thought it was gonna be the opposite of the debate. So to hear Orthodox more argue that is kind of crazy. But yeah, if you're gonna make the argument because somebody don't want to have babies with you, that mean that they hate you. That's totally different. No. It ain't got nothing to do with fucking hate, bro. Most people are tribal. You want to stick in your tribe. That's just natural.
Racism. John, thanks for joining me again. So I pulled up because I read your book on my Kindle, which is a really bad thing to do as a bookstore owner. Don't tell anybody. But if you're
and matter of fact, one last point on that. Even if you just look like, let's just even deal with like, even if we just go in even like a small section, you think even in the Twa people ain't trying to marry Igbo people. It ain't got nothing to do because Twa don't fuck with Igbo. Like, I mean, of course they don't, but it's just two different tribes, bro. You can't, partially, that's just like the same thing when you get into even West African spirituality. Part of the reason why there's an initiation process is the protection of the culture, right? It's the protection of the culture. The same thing, bro, when you going into reproducing. You're going to want to protect your culture, bro.
You wrote you wrote a bunch of points here, but I'm going to just bring up two.
Not integrated.
Talking about, right? You said if you're white and date only white people, you're a racist. On the other hand, if you're white and date a black person, you are, if only deep down, exotifying an other. I think under those circumstances that you stipulate, that would be a contradiction. But I think in this, to me, happens a few times in the book. You seem to be oversimplifying the argument that's coming from this third wave anti-racist movement. The argument is more not if you only date white people, you're a racist, but because I think it's entirely fine to date who you want. But the question is the why, right? The question is, have we internalized the idea that whiteness is superior, that blackness is aesthetically and morally and culturally inferior for black or white folk? And similarly, if you're obsessed with only dating black people, why? It's the why behind it. I'll give one more example, and then I'll give you a chance to respond.
See, this is where he messing up. If you're obsessed with only dating black people, what the hell are you talking about? Mark Lamont be tripping right here. See, I might have to switch videos. I don't want to beat him up on this. This is a whole different discussion from what this actually is, what the show is based on. So we'll get to Kimberly Crenshaw. But no, bro. No, there is no why to that. There is no why you don't want to date outside your tribe, bro. You just don't want to. The fuck are you talking about? That's normal. Like 9 times out of 10 when you see anybody, like, bro, something's up. Nobody does that shit. You go globally around the world, nobody is dating outside of their fucking tribe, bro. You have a culture, and that's the thing. Some people think that tribe and culture, your culture and tribe, though, also doesn't necessarily have to be based on. It's not necessarily tied to just race. Not necessarily tied to just race. A lot of times it is, but it isn't. So yeah, there might be somebody. So you might see other people who don't necessarily look like they from the same tribe that actually like each other, but it's based on culture. They share a similar culture. They're able to agree on culture, bro. That's just like even and really in any situation you should be coming up to that. Like, I don't want my babies raised as no fucking Christian. So no, I'm not like, no, I'm not going to be dating people who uphold Jesus. You know what I mean? You upholding Jesus and Christianity, I'm good. Nah, bro. We doing voodoo in here. We cutting up chickens and spraying blood on the altar. All that extra shit, I ain't cool. You want Jesus blood? Go somewhere else with that shit. But that ain't because it's just, no. I'm set on a certain culture, and that's the culture that I want to last. That's the culture I want to preserve, and that's the culture I want to be as far as a future. You're gonna have a disagreement with somebody that want Jesus, that rather have Jesus blood over grandma's, you know what I mean, or over chicken blood, whatever. But let's get off of this, dude. Let's get into. I want to get Kimberly Crenshaw to actually explain the theory, what it is. And then we're going to get into a few more people who are just being complete idiots. Right? So let's get into it.
These days, everyone's staring at screens and watching their spending. Good vision is more important than ever, but so is saving. That's why America's Best includes a free eye exam when you buy 2 pairs of glasses for just $79.95. Book an exam online today.
Control. The new Marxism uses identity politics. And the result is something that's America. There's no reason to believe.
The new Marxism, but he starts off jumping out the window. The new Marxism? The fuck is he talking about?
Believe that this new Marxism will result in anything but what the old Marxism resulted in.
Critical race theory is racism, pure and simple. And it should be rejected by every American of every race.
And let me tell you right now, critical race theory is bigoted, it is a lie, and it is every bit as racist as the Klansmen and white sheep.
Now this nigga right here is dangerous. Y'all gotta watch this dude right here. This dude is extreme. Motherfuckers thought the other dude was extreme. This guy is extreme. But it's funny watching them argue with each other, yo. I can't even lie. This dude is extreme. I can't even believe he got a job. I ain't even gonna lie to you.
Okay, but here's the thing. None of this is random. This is the result of a highly manufactured strategy created by seasoned political operatives looking for the perfect wedge issue to take back power. Something to combat the energy of the multiracial coalition that took Georgia, and something to replace Blue Lives Matter, since January 6th exposed that slogan as a sham. Conservatives in Congress took note and started chattering, which was then ingested into the feeder system of Fox News. The tagline disseminated, and the war against critical race theory took off. No one wants a boogeyman near their kids, and certainly not in their classrooms. The operatives know this. Those fears got played up, and now, along with the fear of trans kids taking over junior high handball, parents are fighting with school boards in cities and towns across the country over curricula that they believe teaches white kids that they are racist. None of this is actually happening. But who cares about a little old thing like the truth when you have the perfect campaign buzzword for 2022? It even has the magic word in it, race. And joining me now is Kimberly Crenshaw, co-founder and executive director of the African American Policy Forum, and the legal scholar who coined the term critical race theory. So it is your fault, madame. I tripped over the curb this morning and I went, critical race theory? Damn you! You tripped me on the car. It did it. It does everything bad. I mean, and the cicadas, y'all really need to stop with the cicadas critical race theory. That was not nice.
We can throw everything in the bag. Everything in the bag.
So I just wrote down a few of the notes of what people are calling critical race theory: Marxism, racism, bigoted. Let's start with the Marxism. That's their favorite one. They're using that every single time. And I hate to ask dumb questions. So please don't think that I'm dumb. Is critical race theory Marxism?
Look, you know what? Here's the thing, Joy. Critical race theory is not so much a thing. It's a way of looking at a thing. It's a way of looking at race. It's a way of looking at why, after so many decades, centuries actually, since the emancipation, we have patterns of inequality that are enduring. They are stubborn. And the point of critical race.
Ain't that what executive session's been saying the whole time? Executive session's been saying this the whole time. So basically, it's just telling us why. How are we still in the same position that we were in when we first got when we first got out of change? How is that possible? How is it possible? How is it possible we could be going backwards since the day that we got out of change? And what is my argument? At one point in time we owned what was it? 13% of the nation's of the nation's land. We own 13% of it. Now we own less than 0.5%. Same thing. When we got out of slavery, we own 1% of the nation's capital. Now, less than 0.5%. All right, come on. We're going backwards. So that's all it is. Why? How is it possible we could be continuously either still in the same position we was in from the emancipation or going backwards from the time of the emancipation? That's it.
Race theory originally was to think and talk about how law contributed to the subordinate status of African Americans, of indigenous people, and of an entire group of people who were coming to our shores from Asia. And the point was, quite frankly, to understand the problem in order to intervene in it, to understand why the greatest hopes for our republic were not being realized, even though these hopes were encoded in law. So critical race theory just inherits the beliefs and the hopes of Frederick Douglass, of Martin Luther King, who basically want the law to do for the freed people what the law did for enslavers. And we picked that up in the 70s and 80s after the civil rights movement to say, okay, so now we've had this big civil rights movement. We have all these laws in the books.
You could tell too.
Aren't looking as different as they should if we are really the society that we say we are. So we put about the task of understanding how law wasn't just the neutral referee. Law wasn't always on our side. In fact, law was less on our side than for on our side. And we wanted to tell these stories in order to do better with the promises that are embedded in the Constitution. That's what's in critical race theory.
So is critical race theory, is there a K through 12 curriculum that right now is being taught? I'm sorry, I know it's a dumb question, but is there a K through 12 curriculum on critical race theory that's being taught in schools around this country?
Oh, what a good time we will have.
No.
You can make it happen.
That's the answer to that. No.
Try dietary supplements from Voltaren for healthy joints.
Well, look, Joy, if it was news to most Americans that critical race theory was in K through 12, it was news to me too. I'm one of the co-authors of one of the few books on critical race theory. I think I would know if we were being taught in K through 12. I mean, basically, critical race theory, classic critical race theory is a law school course. And it's really, not taught as widely as I would hope it would. Yeah. But here's the deal. This is not about whether anything called critical race theory is in K through 12. What they're calling critical race theory doesn't exist anyway. It is a backlash effort to reverse the racial reckoning unlike any we've seen in our lifetime. And as you pointed out at the beginning, they can't say, we're for racism. They can't say Derek Chauvin should have killed George Floyd with his hand in his pocket, looking like he was completely without a care in the world. They couldn't say that. So they looked around and found a strange sounding theory that they could put all of the grievances and resentments in and mobilize people around this boogeyman. And if our side can't really understand what's going on, it's going to work. It's worked in the past. It worked to end Reconstruction, and it can work to end this reckoning too.
And a gentleman named Christopher Rufo, who's very vigorously requested to be on the show. We're gonna take him up on it and let him come on this week and invite him on. He literally said, "We've successfully frozen their brand, critical race theory, into the public conversation and are steadily driving up negative perceptions. We will eventually turn it toxic as we put all the various cultural insanities under that brand category." To wit, Fox News has mentioned critical race theory nearly 1,300 times in the past 3.5 months. And we've now discovered that a lot of these parents that are showing up at school boards, inveighing against their children being taught that they're, racist, turns out they are actually Republican activists, not just regular old parents.
Big surprise there, right?
Yeah, it is not surprising at all. So I guess my last question to you would be, what do you worry is sort of the purpose of what they're trying to do? Because this is political. It is about getting out the white voters in 2022. Is there a bigger risk to naming critical race theory as some sort of Marxist plot?
Well, of course. I mean, the biggest risk is that this tried and true framing of anti-racism as racist against white people is going to win again.
And notice what she said. They've already found that most of the people who've been going at it with critical race theory, just like that father, that so-called father that we see, turned out to be conservative activists. Excuse me. Conservative activists. AKA crisis actors. Dude up there crying, they're teaching my daughter, you're lying. You're lying.
It won at the end of the Civil War when civil rights were framed as reverse discrimination against white people. It won after Brown versus Board of Education when integration was framed damaging white children. And it could win now if people don't wake up and have a sense of what's at stake. So yeah, you're going to hear all these stories, cherry pick stories. Turns out a lot of them were not verifiable that the other side is putting out there. You're not going to hear, and you should, what is happening with these bans. You're not going to hear that an essay by Ta-Nehisi Coates was the reason why a school teacher was fired. You're not going to hear about the affinity groups in colleges and universities and the programs, the educational programs that are being canceled. So we need to see materially what this is doing in order to weigh into this. If anyone was mobilized by last year, if anyone is concerned about what they saw on January 6th, then you are on our side with this and you need to get involved.
How to open
Let's
your
get
car
one more
door while
debate.
a fatal construction flaw in all recent
Let's get one more
automobiles.
debate, then we're going to close this thing out. This should be a good one.
This ingenious innovation elevates your odds of survival to an astonishing 99%. It was developed by the brilliant mind of engineer Mark Jones, a distinguished...
All right. On this show, we have been covering the criticisms and even attacks against the teaching of critical race theory in the United States since day one. At the moment, there are measures in almost 30 states against the theory in some shape or form. My first guest of the evening has recently penned an article for the conservative online magazine, The Federalist. It's entitled, "Critical Race Theory Aims to Murder the Souls of White Children." In it, he writes, "They call for equity, which means equality of outcomes plus reparations. Inclusion, which is restricted speech banning anything some find offensive. And diversity, which is a violation of individual identity and enforced intellectual conformity. This is a form of mass indoctrination. These are strategies to indoctrinate people into critical race theory." Joining me
Murders
now,
the soul.
he's also an author of the book that you saw flashing there. His name is Dr. Jason Hill. He's a distinguished professor of...
Does this nigga not fit the description? Does this nigga not fit the description of a nigga that's worried about saving white baby souls? That's what he here for. He want to save white baby souls. He not here. Like, bro, All of the black baby souls that you could be saving and that you supposed to be worried about. This nigga worried about babies outside of the tribe. As the Sith Lord says, the Negro pen strikes again.
Of philosophy at DePaul University and the author of several books, including the forthcoming What Do White Americans Owe Black People? Racial Justice in the Age of Post-Oppression. Professor Hill, such a pleasure to have you on this show. You wrote an article. I got to be honest with you. It shocked me a bit. Not so much your perspective, which resonates with many, but the sort of tone and the approach you took. As such a careful thinker, as such a trained philosopher, I would have expected a slightly different take. So I wanted you to help me unpack some of this stuff. You said that equity, inclusion, and diversity efforts are a form of mass indoctrination. Can you explain what you mean by that?
Well, first of all, Mark, thank you for having me on the show. I wanted to show, first of all, that there's nothing about critical race theory that has in it something called doctrinal purity, that there are various iterations of critical race theory. And let me just say at the outset before I answer your question, I don't think that every single grievance that affects the right or afflicts the right should be subsumed on a critical race theory. I know there are lots of things in our culture that are disturbing to people on the right, and they immediately blame it on critical race theory. So I wanted to sort of unpack, having taught critical race theory myself 25 years ago when I first became a professor, and intermittently introducing it into my introduction to philosophy courses, and having seen the various iterations of it changed and morphed over the years into a more strident form of activism. I no longer teach it because the attitude towards the students are different. And I wanted to write this article because of what my research has yielded in terms of how critical race theory is manifesting itself in K through 12 schools and in universities. It's no longer just being taught in law schools. I don't think it ever was just ensconced in the law departments in our country. And what I found was quite disturbing. In another article, I wrote a piece about how it affects Black children. And in this piece, I wanted to, for various reasons, which we could discuss, show how I thought it was affecting the agency of whites. Because I fear.
Hey, am I being an asshole for feeling like this nigga accent just kind of says he ain't got no business having this conversation in the first place? Am I wrong for that? I kind of judged him as soon as he got on. I was like, this nigga fit the description. But not only that, I ain't gonna do it.
That there is going to be a terrible. Go ahead.
Let's go there for just a moment, because that's one of the things that I found so curious, right? I mean,
hey, what you smiling about?
You're conceding from the beginning that there is a way, and people like Christopher Rufo have admitted this, that they want to attach all white anxiety around race, all acts of problematic racial discourse. They want to take it all and put it under this title, critical race theory, and to use his language, kind of destroy the brand of critical race theory. It doesn't allow for nuance. It doesn't allow for us to think deeply or carefully about stuff, right? So if we begin from that place, why write an article called Critical Race Theory Aims to Murder the Souls of White Children? Surely you could see that might actually add to the kind of inflammatory discourse and make it harder to have a sophisticated conversation about race in the country.
Right, Mark, because when I first started teaching critical race theory, and I was teaching really the materialist form that was espoused by Derek Bell in his good works. I mean, I disagreed sometimes with him, but I teach subjects I disagree with, which was the materialist iteration of critical race theory that is looking at how various material configurations like law, economics, and politics affect people in different racial groups. I thought that was proper. I thought that it was any type of scholarship that was worthy of being taught. This has changed. What I see happening, Mark, is that critical race theory, the interdisciplinarity of it in the first place, and the non-doctrinal purity of it makes it very problematic, so that it has been appropriated by a number of different
facts
and a lot more of different individuals who are using critical race theory in quite nefarious ways. And I don't see the advocates of critical race theory, let's call them the purists, calling.
Shit, to be real, you want to know how complex history is? Just go check out the Olympics. Just go check out the Olympics. You got niggas fighting for every country against each other. We supposed to be our own nation. You got Giannis Antetokounmpo and his brothers. They finna go play for Greece this year. He got the Greek freak finna go play for Greece this year. He a whole Igbo, and I think his mom is Igbo and his dad is Yoruba. This nigga but he going to go play for Greece. You got some niggas finna pick up the finna put on play for the crown. You got niggas playing for France. Look how many niggas gonna be playing for the French this year. And I ain't talking about Tony Parker, Dennis Schroeder. Can't even think of the other guy. Think of the confusion on that. Even the number one pick, what's his name? Victor Wembanyama. The Olympics kind of show you even the confusion. Like, we all on all sides of it's a little difficult to just think about that. So Greece and them, they trying to get a championship or win the Olympics, and they every country putting out niggas. That's why niggas talking about Japan paying niggas $150,000 to come make babies with the Japanese women. You want to know why? In my Yara voice, do you want to know why? They trying to win the damn Olympics. They like, hold on. All these other countries, but the Asian countries, which even now you even got to watch that because what you got? Jordan Clarkson, Jalen Green. He's finna be playing in the Philippines. Like, yo. So everybody trying to catch up. Just think, the Philippines is finna be one of the best teams when it come down to basketball this season. They gonna beat the shit out of every other Asian country there. The Philippines, the number one Asian country in basketball right now. Number one. They got all the hitters. You looking at all the hitters is righteously from one tribe. They didn't split us up fighting for different countries. This shit look crazy. Just think, World War III, you a nigga on the front line. Most of the people you gonna be going heads up with gonna look just like you in opposite jersey. We don't even know what goddamn jerseys we supposed to be wearing. This is sad. Sad.
Oh, some of these activities that I outlined in the article, like what happened to my friend's son and what I have seen in my research. So when we have school districts in Seattle public schools holding racially charged teacher training workshops in which they're told just explicitly that they are racist because they're white, and if they disagree, that they're lizard brains.
Here we go again. CRT is teaching this.
Their white fragility. When we have in the San Diego school system instances, I'm not saying this is all pervasive across all schools in America, and I'm not for banning it, which we can talk about later. But when we have instances of white students walking 4 steps ahead of black students, and then the black students being told to walk 4 steps behind, and then the white students are told to look back and see how far the black students are, and then are told that you're part of that systemic problem, which allows blacks to remain so far behind you. I think this is something quite dangerous. This is not the critical theory, race theory, that I certainly recognized 25 years ago when I taught it alongside, Kant, Aristotle, Hegel, Marx, although I'm not a Marxist, but I teach political philosophy, Montesquieu, great thinkers. It's something very, very different. It's a kind of activism.
Hey, you know what? It's fucked up that you say that because I wanted Kyrie to get a championship, but at the same time, nah. I need Jaylen Brown to win the MVP. We can't have another one of these dudes outside of the country winning a goddamn championship in a nigga sport. This our shit. So no, at first I was like, damn, Luka finna get Kyrie another one. And just because of, them happening to interview Kyrie on a regular, there ain't no telling what the hell Kyrie might say. But damn, I can't have the Ukrainian winning the damn championship either, man. What the hell are we doing? As the best player, they finna make dude. They had Luka. He's finna be the best player in the NBA. What the hell? We gotta stop this. You got Jokic and Luka fighting, bidding for the best player. No, slow this train down.
That is, I think, operating as a stranglehold, a coercive stranglehold on the.
Man, they would have had it if we could get Jason Tatum to stop taking spin around fadeaways every play. Like this dude, hey, yo, I'll say that for another. Jason Tatum, I'm gonna say this though. This nigga is the softest basketball player I ever seen in my life. Bruh makes just pay attention to the next game. He makes 0 moves to the basket. All of his moves is like, to be real, if you look at him and look like bruh making moves like he in the gym by himself, like warming up for the game and shit. You know how a nigga just be like, you know what I'm saying? Put the ball through your legs, you know what I mean? Spit it. Like, bruh look like he in the gym by himself working on dumb shit. Like, bruh, you in a real game. But let's get back on topic, man.
Minds of young children. And so, there, of course, there's something a little bit hyperbolic about the title. Clearly, there are not white children falling dead because of critical race theory. If there were, then I think it should be banned. I don't think it should be banned. I think it should be
we're talking about their souls. I mean,
nah, he was saying that basically they was telling them that the kids in San Diego, what they was doing, they was saying that the white students had to walk 4 steps ahead of black people, and black people had to walk 4 steps back, and then they was telling the white kids, "See, you're a part of the problem." Why? Hey, but and to an extent, it is true. We'll get into that part too, right? We'll get into that part too. To an extent, there's a little bit of truth to that. Because, I mean, we'll get into that.
I mean, you said their souls, right? So I'm not suggesting you said they're murdering children, just the souls of their children, which is both hyperbolic and I think troublesome. But you said some other things that I really want to unpack, but I want to take a break so we can keep the show going. And then after the commercial, we'll come back and we'll talk about some of these ideas that you've articulated around race. Everybody stay with me. You don't want to go anywhere because when we come,
So today's the day. I've got my RTA mock system and Coyote appliances. And they did tell me it was only going to take a few minutes. And I got to say, they were right.
We're just gonna get them paid for this ad real quick since we watching this video. At least get them paid for it.
Parallel. My wife Allie and I pulled together all of the pieces, and then that amazing system, these center pieces, just lock them all together. It was really easy to snap together, and that's a rock solid connection.
Welcome back to Black News Tonight. Sophia at DePaul. Oh, Black people, racial justice. So there are a few things that you've said that I find interesting, and a few things that you've written here in your piece that I'd like you to explain a little bit more. So, you talk about your research driving this, but
Facts. When
you write this, you talk about it from an anecdote from a friend, a liberal friend who sat in on a 6th grade class and found their white son being told that they're responsible for American racism. I think part of the concern for many of us is that all of these stories about these sort of audacious teachers teaching these bizarre forms of racial discourse. They're always anecdotes. They're always, it's never like a school. It's never a teacher that we name. It's never a program that we can identify. It seems to me that in many ways, this is like a solution in search of a problem, that we keep pretending that there is this moral panic around critical race theory that's infiltrating the nation. We did it eight years ago with liberation theology, that, oh my God, the churches are being filled with Marxist thinkers and we're going to make a bunch of Jeremiah Wrights. And it seems to me that this happens these moral panics occur whenever there's an election coming up. And my concern about the way you're thinking about this is that, again, you, instead of using the research, instead of giving us hardcore cases, we end up with a lot of inflammatory language. Like you call critical race theory a moral eugenics program. You talk about a final solution. I mean, you're invoking the language of Nazis, the language of the worst forms of evil against Jewish people. And it seems to me that it only invites a kind of hysteria that does nothing to make our country better, does nothing to have an honest conversation about race. What do you say?
Well, I had written about 3 articles before in which I actually named Ohio school districts and Seattle public school districts and identified the districts in Ohio. And that article was quite cumbersome. Of course, it was for a large audience. And so what I wanted to really do, given the fact that the publication doesn't permit footnotes, is to sort of do a distillation of what I'd read. And of course, it's a broad interpretational latitude that I'm exercising here by using the kind of language that I've used after reading a broad swath of literature and also talking to teachers and working with neighborhood teachers, parent associations, making that kind of interpretational judgment that I made. So I understand why people would be not just offended, but actually quite put off by the incendiary, and I will use the term, the article is incendiary. I know when I write pieces that are very measured and I'm a scholar. I've written 3 academic books and hundreds of, scores of.
Breakfast the description, yo.
But I had a different, I wanted this to be a wake-up call in the sense that I wanted people to realize that there are activists, not all critical race theory advocates are activists, but there are a subset of activists that are operating in our school system that are straying from their lane. That is, rather than teaching critical race theory in its pure theoretical form, which questions Enlightenment principles, it questions the neutral principles of constitutional law, the very foundations of the liberal order. These are things that are open for question. These should be taught, right? Whether we think that the liberal order is the best order, critical race theory poses questions against meta-narratives, all these sorts of things that I was teaching. This is not happening. It's being taught as this kind of hermetically sealed, ideologically pure doctrine that has imprimatur of infallibility stamped on it. And
it probably was how he treated this dude, because like bro gives me, he almost sound like, do he not almost sound like Elijah Muhammad? Like, I don't know, like bro. Yeah, I remember. I don't care what you say, Elijah Muhammad voice does not match, bro. It's like you looking at bro and then the voice is like, yo, who the hell is that talking? It's like, yo, who the hell is that talking?
Go ahead, Mike.
That's where I guess we're differing here, and I appreciate that you, unlike almost every other person who's taking a sort of critical posture towards CRT, you're saying, look, there's nothing wrong with critical race theory. It's not the monster, it's not the boogeyman that the right is making it out to be. You're beginning from that place, and I hope the Christopher Rufos of the world, I hope the James Lindsays of the world are hearing you say that hey, this is not what you all are thinking it is. But then where it seems to me you fall into the trap is you then take these outlier cases or these particular examples, and you talk about Seattle and Ohio, but those people aren't doing moral eugenics. They are doing racial teacher trainings around on race. They are doing curricular interventions, but it's not nearly the kind of stuff you're talking about. They're not demanding reparations. They're not talking about a violation of individual identity, as you talk about. They're not coming up with a final solution. They're not doing any of that stuff. But you're allowing all that stuff to be called critical race theory when you, as an expert professor on this thing, know that it's not critical race theory. And the people teaching it are also not calling it critical race theory. It's not like the person in the class is saying, hey, all right, sixth graders, we're going to have a critical race theory class. They're just talking about race in a way that people don't like. And they're saying, well, you know what? Let's just call it all critical race theory and then throw it all away. And because you know it's not critical race theory, instead of simply framing it like these are somehow heretics, that these are people who are deviating from what critical race theory should be, why not just say they're talking about race in ways we don't like? Because, and I want you to respond to this, because my concern, sir, is that when you do it this way, it gives these people license. By these people, I mean the opponents of CRT. It gives these people license to avoid race talk altogether. And unlike you, they don't just want to avoid critical legal studies and critical race theory. Unlike you, they don't just want to get rid of these outliers, which you and I might not even agree on. They don't want to talk about race at all. They want to pretend that America doesn't have racism and white supremacy. They don't want to talk about the legacy of slavery. They don't want to talk about any of this stuff. So why not just offer the specific critique instead of buying in and even pouring gasoline on the moral panic when you know better?
No, Mark, I think respectfully, I think we're going to have a couple of civil disagreements here. One is I don't think that these are outlier cases. I think these are cases that are becoming they're not endemic in all the school systems, but they're becoming more pervasive in our K through 12 school systems. So I don't think they're outlier cases at all. And I wanted to make, I want to make a distinction here on the show that they're what we could call first wave critical race theorists that involve people like Bell and who else? I read these people, so I should know their names. People like
Kimberly Crenshaw, Richard Delgado, or Stefanovich, or
I would say Patricia Hill Collins, Audre Lorde, and Bell Hooks would be the first wave, and the second wave would be Patricia Williams, Angela Harris, and Kimberly Crenshaw. And there's a third wave that are
what? And now look, now he's finna make up some shit. And there's a third wave. Who? Like, wait. Hey man, whoever did this nigga lineup, it says it all. Like this says it all. Like this ain't thinking shit, bro. This a dude sit down in any barbershop and just tell him cut his shit. Like, come on, bro. That's what was wrong with Kevin Durant haircut. I seen this nigga one day. He sat down. He got some Mexican dude cutting his hair. I'm like, what?
I think more bent on the kind of freewheeling activism. That's the brunt of those people are the brunt of who my article is aimed at. Those radical activists that are not just teaching critical race theory as scholarship, as an academic exercise in reasoning about a particular narrative about how race has been constructed in this country. For example, I do think that one of the things that critical race theory gets right is that it is a social construct that has been created to maintain white supremacy and white privilege. That is, there are no biological anthropologists today that would say race is a biological concept. So that aspect of critical race theory is appropriate and actually should be taught, that Americans should know that they're.
Thank you for saying that, at least, sir. I apologize. I hate to cut you off, Professor, but we're out of time. We've already gone over a bit, but thank you for that.
Oh, no.
Thank you for that analysis, and I hope that in the same way that you write these pieces, you'll talk back to the right and to those opponents, the Christopher Rufos, James Lindsay of the world, and say that the privilege is real, white supremacy is real, that critical race theory is not the problem, but even if we disagree on the details and the specifics, that there's at least room to have a conversation about race, because many of the people who are supporting your article are using your article to have a very different analysis. But I want to bring you back so we can have this conversation and really flesh this out, including disagreeing on these different waves of CRT. Professor Hill, thank you so much for your comments. Everybody stay with us here on Black News Tonight. We can join the conversation anytime we want just by going to
And that's the key. Eliminate the black race. And they want to they don't want you to have any evidence on how it's being done. That's really what's going on. They don't want you to have any evidence on how it's actually being done. So they want to eliminate the numbers. We got the numbers. We know what's going on. Like, this is over with. Man, we're going to do a part 2, man. It's probably about 4 more debates I want to do on this. And then, as a matter of fact, on the next one, I'll open up the floor too. That way, we'll have we can get some more people on. We can all react to some of these debates together and just kind of have a dialogue. Hopefully, I can get the political plug up here. We can get the Sith Lord, and we could definitely crank this conversation up. But yeah, definitely. At the end of the day, man, critical race theory is just simply understanding how we are affected by the laws around us, education, disciplinary, even, giving birth, all of these different things. Just saying how it affects us. And just to even make it simple, just the same way that Kimberly Crenshaw came on it and explained it, same way Executive Sessions broke it down. It's just as simple and plain. It's showing how in the hell are we still in the same situation that we were in from the day that we were emancipated. That's all it's doing. It's showing how. And you got to ask yourself, how are we going backwards? How could we be worse off financially? How could we have less financial wealth than what we had? Less of the nation's wealth than what we had coming out of slavery. How is that possible? How do we own less land than we did coming out of Jim Crow? Like, how is these things possible? So that's all it's doing. It's just looking at how we are affected by different ones. But I think bro is an example of what happens when you bring a baby back outside of the tribe. With that being said, man, we finna get into that Dr. Umar. Let me talk black to you, and we are out of here. Appreciate everybody coming through. Y'all already know a special praise to the most beautiful goddess of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, STEMIA, whose image is the most beautiful Whoopi Goldberg. Shout out to all my Babel builders in the building. Remember, if you are listening to this, together we are Babel. Let's build.
Hey, can I talk black? Franco, brain so black, get you black, can I talk black with you? Can I talk black with you? Dr. Umar talk black with you? Hey, can I talk black with you? All my women black, never outside of the tribe. I don't think that we can match. Outside of the tribe, why you bring that baby back with you? Outside of the tribe, send that baby backpack with you. Outside of the tribe, all my women black. Outside of the tribe, I don't think that we can match. Outside of the tribe, why you bring that baby back? Outside of the tribe, send that baby backpack with you. Outside of the tribe, what taking shots with none. If I do say, we was flooded with some gifts before I do that. Between chops from the block for my new baby. In case I run out of shots, you get my bouquet. Running around town, you been poking off the pack. If the payments match, please don't bring that puppy. back. You know she mine if her father, mother, then I know she fine cause her father, mother, black. Can I talk black with you? Can I talk black with you? Dr. Umar talk black with you? Hey, can I talk black with you? All my women black, never outside of the tribe. I don't think that we can match. Outside of the tribe, why you bring that baby back with you? Outside of the tribe, send that baby backpack with you. Outside of the tribe, all my women black. Outside of the tribe, I don't think that we can match. Outside of the tribe, why you bring that baby back? Outside of the tribe, send that baby backpack with you. Outside of the tribe, you make this baby off the pack. Don't make me have to send that baby right. right back with you. Represent that baby back in the pack with you. We need your pack with you. Better ask. Better bow, better have them quick and put you in the flag with you. Don't be mad cause they always in they back with your picture. Dirty and some rag with your bag. For my sisters, and you know that we were back bitches. Don't tag bitches. Better ask. I know you mad cause she black bitches. You know they DNA bad bitches. I have it, but ain't got no admixtures. All my women black, never outside of the tribe. I don't think that we can match up. Outside of the tribe, why you bring that baby back with you? Outside of the tribe, send that baby backpack with you. Outside of the tribe, all my women black. Outside of the tribe, I don't think that we can match up. Outside of the tribe, why you bring that baby back with you? Outside of the tribe, send that baby backpack with you. Outside of the tribe, all my women black, never. Outside of the tribe, I don't think that we can match up. Outside of the tribe, why you bring that baby back with you? Outside of the tribe, send that baby backpack with you. Outside of the tribe.